Hello, it's Johnny Malks here with my broadcast partner Musa Jha. We are bringing you the YULA Invite, round one. Now, we don't have all our cameras working today and no field audio, but those will be coming online shortly. We wanted to bring you the first round action. This is W&L versus East Chapel Hill.
And we have a beautiful day here so far. It's a little bit gusty, making some throwing conditions a little bit difficult, but so far it is 2 East Chapel Hill to 1 Washington Liberty.
Yeah, and just to bring you folks at home up to speed, East started out with a bit of a slow hold on offense with a zone, slicing through the W&L zone defense, then came back with a quick break before a little bit of a grindy point right after for W&L to get their first hold. So you're seeing W&L's second D point here, pull that rolls out of bounds, and we're excited to bring you this action.
And it looks like Washington Liberty is going to start with person-to-person defense on this point. A little bit poachy in the lanes. Washington Liberty making it difficult for East Chapel Hill to get to this. And there's a turn from East Chapel Hill, giving Washington Liberty an opportunity from 5 yards out to punch in another score.
Yeah, Musa, a little bit of an unfortunate drop there. I wonder if the wind conditions are making it routine catches like that a little bit more difficult.
Certainly, and this will give Washington Liberty their first break of the game, making it 2-2.
Quick inside break to the end zone, and you can see how energizing that is for Washington Liberty out there in their Venom-inspired jerseys. What do you think of the Venom/Spider-Man motif going on out here?
I actually really like them. I personally am a big fan of Spider-Man, and I'm even rocking my Be Amazing Spider-Man hat right now in the booth, as you can see.
I can. Maybe we'll get a peek of that later on in the broadcast. But yes, Coach Clem is out here urging on his troops, and we'll see what East can do on the other side to rally and hopefully get back on track with their game. What do you think the keys to the game are for each team based on what we've seen so far, Musa?
Especially with it being as windy as it is this morning, I think a lot of what these teams are going to want to focus on is patience with the disc.
Why am I hearing Musa? Johnny, you might just say that we've got a technical difficulty with Musa's mic.
Sorry, we've got a technical difficulty with Musa's mic going on right now. We'll get that fixed real quick. Bear with us.
Yeah, I can. I'm seeing. Grab and see if that one's working.
Musa, go ahead and say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
I had to unplug. You're all good. You're back.
Looks like we have Musa back with us today. And so we will get back into our commentating. And like I was saying before, Musa, what do you think the keys are for both of these teams' success in this game?
Yeah, I think with the amount of wind here this morning, they're going to both teams are really going to have to focus on patience moving the disc upfield. A lot of the throws they're going to want to take are going to have to be at 100%. They're not going to want to throw 50-50 balls or risky throws. They're really going to want to focus on making sure that each pass is completed while working it up the field.
And I think that's really timely advice as W&L comes out in a zone and immediately gets a turn. This game's turned on its head, Musa. East coming out scoring 2 quick goals, and now W&L rallying back, perhaps scoring 3 of their own unanswered.
And we get a long throw up the foreside, and it is immediately put in by a Washington Liberty cutter, making it 2 for East Chapel Hill and 3 for Washington Liberty.
And that was a really energizing score by W&L there. We saw a quick turn, like we said, out of the zone, and then W&L's been doing a great job on their 3-0 run here with counterattacking quickly. Do you think that that's something that is coached or just something that the players are picking up on themselves in terms of noticing the weaknesses of their opponent?
Yeah, I believe in an opportunity like that where it seems like the defense was a little frazzled getting set up on that turn. WNL was able to immediately punch it in and take advantage of that.
Yes, especially that's one of the advantages of coming out in a zone. If you can get a quick turn, it's hard for the other team to match up in person-to-person defense because they're not used to marking up on a set that is a little bit more fluid.
Yeah, definitely. But I believe, it'd be many coaches' preference to slow down the offense on a turn, not immediately go for that break and score, and instead work it up the field.
Definitely, there are pros and cons to both. And sometimes in a high school setting, you worry about the quick shot being one that might be a little bit ill-advised. But WNL's been doing a great job in these last few points of picking it up carefully, looking for a nice, easy inside shot, functional, and they are scoring at will right now. So let's see what East can do to perhaps rally the momentum back on their side. There's a nice shot of Coach Clem walking back toward the sideline. Both he and all the coaches here today have been doing so much work for their own individual youth programs in each of their respective areas, and it's just a wonderful celebration of all the work they've been doing and a celebration for the players to get back underway here at the 2022 YULA Invite, and it is a pleasure to bring it to you at home, a pleasure to be here with Musa as the pull goes up from WNL.
And W now coming out again in a zone defense. East Chapel Hill getting a better hang of navigating through it, getting quick throws through the middle and working it up to about half field. East is doing a great job of swinging the disc from sideline to sideline, really making that WNL defense move across the field if they're going to get any chance of defending East Chapel Hill.
And I'm surprised to see, Musa, that they're not trapping the sideline. Seems like they're more looking to entice the swings, and that strategy is not going to work out as East slices and dices right through it with a nice quick goal there to even the odds up 3-3.
Yeah, and I don't really think East even gave WNL much of an opportunity to trap on the sideline. By the time WNL was getting set, East was swinging it back to the other sideline and making the defense run.
It's certainly interesting. I wonder what the conditions are saying to each of the coaches to allow them to run these kinds of different sets. And here we see Coach Clem going back out on the line to try to get his O-line perhaps looking a little bit prettier than it did the last time they were out on the field. Both teams have been having success as D-lines, but the O-lines have looked a little bit sloppy to start out this game. So I know Coach Clem's going to try to harp on those win throws, make sure that everyone's throwing 100% throws like you said, keeping it easy, and maybe that will lead to a clean hold. Speaking of jerseys, Musa, it looks like East has come out with a little bit of a mountain motif on theirs. What do you think those could be? Do you think those are the Appalachians?
I believe so. I've actually never been to Chapel Hill, and so I don't know really what the landscape looks like.
Interesting.
But I'm liking their jerseys with the mountains at the bottom, the nice blue trim.
A classic Carolina blue, one might say. And you were a geology major. What kind of minerals could we find in the Appalachian Mountains?
A lot of, having gone to school in Williamsburg, a lot of what we worked with was silica and a lot of the sand. I'm not too familiar with the geology of North Carolina.
You heard it here first, folks. Looks like the coaches are coming off the field and we'll get ready for another pull. Save you from all the geology banter going on in the booth. 3-3 game here. And we're looking forward to seeing who can pull away as the pull goes up.
And a floating pull from East Chapel Hill, and that will unfortunately land out of bounds.
Yeah, Musa, it looks like that almost landed out of bounds on the other field as well. So not too close. A long run for the W&L handler, having to get out of the way of a deep shot on the other field, and here he comes bringing it back. Gives East a long time to set up their defense, if nothing else, and so hopefully they'll look for a nice person set here.
And W&L receiving the disc at the brick mark.
Running a flood play there. Quick inside shot, that works. Oh, and some contact there on that huck. Looks like it's not going to be a foul. And it'll be East disc. What's your opinion on a little bit of contact like there when up, like we just saw there when the disc goes up? Think it's incidental or?
Yeah, there it looked pretty incidental.
Oh, actually, it looks like there will be a foul call and uncontested as W&L picks it up on the end zone line.
High stall count from W&L, just not able to punch it in, and it's going to be East Chapel Hill going the other way.
And you can visibly see the frustration on the faces of the W&L players there. They would have really liked to have that easy hold back as their flood play worked, but it's not to be. East is going to pick it up on their own end zone line and try to work the full 70.
And an inside break not completed from East Chapel Hill and defended by W&L.
W&L picking up about 10 yards outside the end zone, and that is an easy score. Nice flip into the end zone. Big spike. Emphatic.
And W&L maintains their lead so far, up a break in this game.
Hello, we are here in the booth talking to you about Ultimate. I'm Johnny, this is Musa. Musa, anything to say to the fans out there at home?
We're glad we can offer you this broadcast here, streaming W&L and East Chapel Hill here from Washington Liberty High School in Arlington, Virginia. So I hope we have streamers from all over the country being able to watch some of these games.
We're pumped to be here. Everyone tune in for the Continent game tonight. Moose is going to be playing. It's going to be a great event. And if we're looking back out here on the field, Musa, we just had W&L have a relatively clean O point if you think about the foul call as being a completion. And I wonder what Coach Clem's thinking now in terms of what kind of defense to run. Zone was working earlier in the game. However, East kind of shredded that last zone that they put out. What are you thinking we'll see out of the team Venom here today?
I still think W&L is going to give their zone defense another opportunity. It seems that playing defense on the opposite side of the field here from where W&L is now seems to be the downwind side, and I think they should continue to take advantage despite the fact that East Chapel Hill was able to slice and dice right through it on that last point, but it generally was doing a good job of slowing down the offense and breaking up set plays.
And when we're talking about the wind direction, you're thinking it's going across the screen right to left? Is that?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we have a W&L pulling downwind here.
Some cross-field wind as well, gusting a little bit, but predominantly downwind, upwind game.
Wind certainly has a big impact on these games, Musa, and it's the old adage, if you're not ready to play in wind, then you're just period not ready to play. So let's see what East can come up with.
Again, W&L coming out in zone defense. Looks like they're playing person-to-person downfield, but then around the handlers, they are mostly poaching off in those lanes and making it difficult for East Chapel Hill to continue throws to their cutters.
Interesting gambit on the part of Coach Clem. You can hear him counting throws down there, and he's always been a master strategist, so let's see if he can will his team to another break here with this interesting defense. Looks like they're transitioning a bit into person-to-person here.
And WNL forcing what looks to be a backhand force.
A little bit of a check feet call here. Calling it inbounds.
Play continues.
Quick up line. Can they continue? They can. Knocking on the door here, Musa.
Let's see if they can punch it in. East Chapel Hill resetting the disc to the middle of the field. WNL doing a really good job at keeping East Chapel Hill from scoring when in the red zone here.
Oh, and you saw what happened there. Player in the red hat playing some nice tight person defense, but allowed his mark to get his body in front of him, sealed him off. Easy cut into the middle of the field to the force side, and that just shows how important body positioning is on defense. To any of the young players watching out there, always make sure to keep your body on the force side so that your player can't seal you off like that. That'll be a learning moment for the WNL player. He'll get back out there on O, see what he can do. And that's an encouraging point for East Musa. They had some nice methodical motion downfield, and even when they weren't quite sure what the defensive look was, they were able to work it out with their swings, keep it nice and patient motion, and punch it in.
Yeah, East Chapel Hill really making an effort to make 100% throws on that point. There were a few moments where it seemed like the stall count was getting pretty high, but doing a really good job at resetting the disc or getting the disc upfield before a stall was called.
Coaches out on the line here, giving each of their team a little bit of feedback. Looks like we got a mint green Kiko Ultimate sweater down there, Musa, and you know, Kiko's become an international brand. All the cool players wear it, and started out as socks, moved up the body to sweatshirts, and you know, little bit of a free plug for Kiko Ultimate here. So head out to their website, Lisa P, great person, Ultimate Ambassador, and I know Lisa P is going to be tuning in, watching the Continent Tour game tonight that again Musa is playing in, celebrating the folks of color in our sport. And I'm hoping to see a lot of these high school players out there in the stands tonight too. It'll be right here at Washington and Liberty High School. Do you know what time the game will be?
The game will be beginning at 7:30.
7:30.
And for those who can't make it to Washington Liberty tonight, it will be streamed. The link should be out there on the web or on Disc Diversity's Instagram or Twitter pages.
Perfect. And as we saw, big pull from East there, rolling out of bounds. WNL is going to take it up to the front of the end zone and try to go the full 70 here.
All right, and we have WNL coming out in a horizontal stack to start the point, and a little bit of contact from East Chapel Hill. It looks like players are going to have a bit of a discussion on whether or not that was a foul.
Yeah, it's tough to get a layout D from the outside shoulder like that without creating any contact. Usually the safer play is to try to go on the inside, but going on the inside can also mean that your mark can slip you a little bit easier and get downfield. So that's a tough decision on defense. Luckily there wasn't too much contact there, and it looks like the players will have a discussion and send it back, a contested foul.
So it looks like the result of that was a contested foul, goes back to the thrower, and play continues. And another contested throw into the lane. East Chapel Hill playing very close person defense, and it is denied by East Chapel Hill defender, giving them an opportunity to make it 5-4.
It looked like that throw was going to be a little floaty at first, but then it was coming down nicely, a little bit of an early jump from WNL, and East is going to pick up and try to work their own D-line offense here, and doesn't get too far. Picked off by the WNL player, who swings it downfield, and unfortunate drop there.
And a series of turns in these past few throws here, giving East Chapel Hill the disc again.
Nice shot here of the thrower. See the beautiful blooming trees in the back. That's why we love spring here in the DMV.
East Chapel Hill running a vertical stack to continue play downfield.
Remember, this is their D-line offense, so it would be big momentum swing if they can actually punch this in, and that's not going to do it, Musa. A little bit of a wild shot downfield, and you can see the disappointment on the faces of the East coaches. They wish they had a little bit more of a methodical offense on the turn there.
And these are tough points where there's been a lot of turns back and forth, players, extending their time on the field. It gets tiring being out there for that long, and you got to question decisions that get made as the point goes on.
Definitely, the more tired you are, the more enticing it is to throw deep and try to get it all in one, but usually that just leads to more running, so let's see if W&L can have better luck here working it underneath.
East Chapel Hill doing a great job of pressuring each and every throw downfield to W&L cutters. And a throw into the end zone denied by East Chapel Hill defender.
Yeah, similarly floaty throw there. That's asking a lot of the W&L receiver.
And again, another turn on this point.
At this point, you've just got to triage your offense and make sure that you're looking for 100% looks. Doesn't matter a bunch if they're gaining you a lot of yards. You just got to maintain possession on a long point like this, because winning a long point can be a huge momentum swing regardless of whether or not you started on offense.
And W&L really pushing a lot of their cutters back into the end zone, leaving their three handlers back to move the disc upfield. But again, another throwaway from W&L.
Miscommunication there on the up line. It looked like the player wanted to straighten out his cut toward the end zone, go for it all, and the thrower thought he was doing a traditional up the line, and just like that, another quick drop from East, and these discs are becoming increasingly hard to handle, but as we say that, a nice easy swing into the end zone for W&L, and they have the advantage by 1 point, Musa.
Yeah, and after a couple of turns on that point, they are able to punch in their O point. That is going to be critical as we approach halftime.
Yeah, I agree, Musa. The more short field possessions that a team can get in a game like this with this much wind is a huge advantage, because when you can score in one throw in conditions like these, you're going to probably come out on top. The sort of thing with the YULA Invite every year is we have it usually a little bit of a drop in the temperature and a major uptick in winds. So for whatever reason, the ultimate frisbee gods always bless this tournament with a little bit of adversity, and it's been wonderful to see the way that teams are handling this, in addition to all the parent volunteers and the fans out here braving the weather, braving the cold. That's why we love the sport.
Absolutely. Good thing this tournament wasn't 2 weeks ago when the Northern Virginia area got about 1.5 inches or 2 inches of snow. Those would have been quite the conditions to play in.
What'd they call it, a bomb cyclone?
A bomb cyclone.
The only bomb cyclone out here are these big pulls, am I right? And we can see a nice shot of East Chapel Hill here. Got some players stretching. Got a nice bucket hat there. What do you think of the new style these days, Musa? Back when I was in high school, there were a few styles, a few experimental things going on, but now we've got everything from bucket hats to white tights to...
Looks like we have some pajama bottoms there as well.
Pajama bottoms, that is a classic always. And I think that one of the things that is never going to change for some high school players is just the classic shorts, no accessories, and some low top socks. Now that is a classic look.
That is one I typically go with.
Definitely.
Having started playing Ultimate in college, I'm a little bummed to have missed out on, the style of high school Ultimate.
All the fashion exploration that gets done.
Exactly. What was your style in high school, Johnny?
Yeah, well, I was a bit infamous in high school for wearing really colorful tights.
Okay.
And really just clashing patterns. So I think that everyone appreciates that I'm not in high school anymore. As we see Coach Clem out here on the field, I know he appreciates that I'm not in high school having to coach me. And he is coaching up these players after this long break. That must have been a timeout. as we also see him checking out the opposition, wondering what he's going to draw up today. Now, they've been running, seems like equal parts zone and person defense. I believe that, and some hybrid sets as we've seen, Musa. One of my favorite things about Ultimate is just the random names that coaches give sets. Are there any fun names that you remember from your playing days in college that were interesting for zone defenses or set plays or anything like that?
Yeah, my favorite set play went by the name of Duck.
Hmm.
And that was from a
Clean,
horizontal stack where
simple.
we'd have, somebody on the sideline sweep under to get the disc, shooting to someone from the other sideline who's going deep. But Duck, I have no idea what the origins of that name is. How about yourself?
Let's see. The names got increasingly more convoluted as myself and some other hooligans started to captain. So I think one year we did the names of, what was it? Was it Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh? Something
Ah,
weird. So probably one of those names, but I don't remember the names. They were really hard to remember. Probably not the most useful names we could have given. You're welcome, all our teammates on William and Mary. Shout out to the tribe.
go Tribe.
Go tribe. Send your kids to Williamsburg. They'll get a great education. They'll love all the trees down there. And it looks like we're getting a good shot of East as the pull is about to go up from WNL. Nice bladey pull there. Oh, and it rolls out of bounds
Oh,
nicely. East is going to have to go 65 yards starting from that sideline, and that's a tough position to be in.
and again, another pull rolling on to the opposite field where we have Yorktown and.
Not sure what that other team is,
Okay.
but they've got some nice red jerseys. Shout out to the red jerseys with the gradient. Shout out to the Yorktown Yodas.
And East Chapel Hill bringing it back into play. W now playing person-to-person defense downfield.
Working some nice reset motion there after a little bit of initial hesitancy.
Yeah, W now forcing backhand, and a round throw goes out of bounds, again giving W now an opportunity to punch it in from about 10 yards outside the end zone.
That one made its way out onto the track. We can talk a little bit more about your track days here at WNL a little bit later, Musa. As we see WNL picking it up on the sideline. A quick catch. Looks like he wanted that one in the end zone, but pointing to the end zone line, perhaps it's not in.
Players, after a quick discussion, deem it out of bounds, outside the end zone, and it is then caught by WNL, making it 6-4.
Looks like the pajama pants couldn't add that little boost of speed that he needed to get onto the fourth side there, Musa, and that's unfortunate because that player's made a lot of great plays this game. He'll try to rally back for his team, East Chapel Hill, as WNL pulls ahead by 2, and that's big for Coach Clem's squad here. It's always an advantage when the conditions are a little bit unfavorable to go into half with the lead.
Yeah, and since the opening few points here, WNL has gone on a 6-2 run against East Chapel Hill. The game starting off 2-0 in favor of East Chapel Hill, but WNL turning the tides over these past 8 points.
Yeah, Musa, now that's one thing that I love about watching the March Madness games going on, is you always hear the commentators say, like, they've been on a whatever to whatever run, and sometimes they just leave it going for the whole half. So it's like they've been on a 30 to 15 run this half. It's a lot of points.
That's just halftime.
Yeah, and it's just halftime. Looks like we got a nice shot of a player practicing his pulls there. As I was talking about before, nice blossoming trees out on the left. Now, have you been to see the cherry blossoms yet, Musa? They were at peak bloom midway through this week in the nation's capital, and that's something that I know I want to check out this weekend.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be able to check them out last night on a tour of the monuments with some other players who will be joining for the content tour tonight. We went over to the MLK Memorial where a lot of the cherry blossoms were in peak bloom, and it was just a beautiful sight.
That's wonderful.
Especially at night.
That is great. And how have the weekend activities for the Continent Tour been going? I know you're hosting a player or two. How's been connecting with that community?
Yeah, it's been great. Yesterday a lot of players flew in yesterday or drove in, and late afternoon, we went to Berry Farm Recreation Center and actually spent a lot of time throwing around with kids, trying to get them to play 4-on-4, although they were much more into playing 500 or just tossing around with us, before making our way to the National Mall, where a lot of players, aren't too familiar with each other. So it's meeting a lot of new faces and getting to know people, which has been an awesome experience, getting to know some of the black players in our sport.
That's wonderful to hear, and a great note to end our little bit of banter on as the poll goes up. East is going to try to work it from around the 30-yard line. Looks like W&L's coming out in another zone, 4-person cup this time, Musa. What do you think Coach Clem is thinking putting this out on the field?
Yeah, we've seen East Chapel Hill try to run their offense through just a few of their handlers up until this point in the game, and having a 4-person cup is really making it difficult for East Chapel Hill to work the disc up the field. But they seem to be doing a good job getting lots of upfield throws, working it about 20 yards outside the end zone. W&L staying in their zone defense.
Yes, and as you said, they were having trouble, Musa. They work it up with relative ease, but an unfortunate drop there in the end zone. And you got to feel for that player. We've all been there. Got to turn around and get it back on D. Although promising for East Chapel Hill there. Some nice movement up the field, and even though they didn't get the point, hopefully they're coming away with renewed effort on defense after seeing that their offense had a lot of efficacy.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be a lot more difficult for W&L to punch in this break opportunity, having to go the full length of the field to score, whereas before, on the past 2 breaks, they have been able to get the disc 2 or 5, about 5 yards outside the end zone.
And that was incredible. A throw went up that wasn't even to the intended target, and W&L almost got there. Not to be, however, and they are back in their 4-person cup for this point. I wonder what kind of adjustments Coach Clem will make next point if they do end up being on D or O, either one, because it looks like East is having a lot simpler of a time. Oh, and just as I say that, perhaps a little bit of a commentator's curse there as we see a drop into discussion.
It seems like the players are going to have a bit of discussion about this call, whether it seems that the W&L defender may have hit the arm of East Chapel Hill, and it looks like an uncontested foul. The disc remains with East Chapel Hill. And W&L doing a great job on that turn to quickly set their zone defense. That can be difficult in moments of transition, but East Chapel Hill quickly working it through the W&L zone after that foul call and punching it in.
Lefty backhand to the end zone and some redemption for that player that originally dropped it. I love to see that. Teammates trusting teammates, and that's what Ultimate's all about. That's what the best teams do, regardless of what happens in each moment. Got to keep trusting each other and making sure that everyone on the fields, when they're open, they're thrown to, because that's how you become an efficient and potent team.
Yeah, an exciting game so far. No team really pulling away by more than 2 points. W&L at 6, East Chapel Hill at 5, and Johnny, is halftime at 7 or 8? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure, Musa. I would guess these are games to 13, but we will find out here shortly. 80-minute rounds, so I would guess they're games to 13, especially because we're already past the 40-minute point, that halfway point. As we can see here, get a good shot of Coach Clem in those sunglasses. What kind of sunglasses do you think Coach Clem's rocking?
Oh, man. You know, there's the really popular brand that everyone
Gooder?
seems to be. Gooder! Yes, the Gooder sunglasses.
Quick shout out to Gooder. Could be Ray-Ban. We're getting a close shot.
Zoom.
Looks like they could be Gooder. They could be Oakley. It's hard to tell. Go out and get yourself some Gooder sunglasses. Under $30. Great performance.
We'll have to do a more detailed investigation of Coach Clem's sunglasses a little bit later for our streamers.
A few of our teammates on the DC Breeze and DC Truck Stop swear by Gooder sunglasses. You can really bang them around out there on the field, and if they get broken, I mean, you didn't make a big investment in the first place, so great sport sunglasses. I wonder if this is a timeout, Musa. It's taken a little bit of time to get both of, or is it half
It
already?
certainly is. We have a lot of players throwing around on the field.
Just as we were talking about half, perhaps it's half at 6.
Yeah, it seems like East Chapel Hill is taking a learning opportunity in their end zone. You can see their coach pretty enthusiastically describing their zone offense. It seems as if he's jumping through the cup here.
You love to see an animated coach out on the field. These coaches really care. And again, big shout out to the coaching staffs here making the trip down, investing in Youth Ultimate. And that is how both DC and, of course, the notable North Carolina Youth Ultimate programs have grown so much and have produced such amazing star players at the highest levels of the sport.
Certainly. And many high school, college, many coaches in the ultimate community are volunteers. You know, spending their time and money to travel for tournaments and, raise the next generation of ultimate players.
Definitely, and that's the kind of love that keeps the sport going, especially when there are so few funds in the club and youth and these kinds of aspects of the game. It is great to see the community coming together.
So it certainly looks like we are at halftime in the WNL versus East Chapel Hill round 1 of the YULA Invite.
Hello, we are back for the second half of W&L versus East Chapel Hill. East Chapel Hill versus W&L here at the YULA Invite 2022. And Musa, as we come into this second half action, what are some keys to the game for W&L and East Chapel Hill, one for each, based on what we saw in the first half?
Yeah, WNO has done a pretty decent job with their zone defense. A lot of times when they've run their zone defense on East Chapel Hill, they've gotten break opportunities just from 5 to 10 yards outside the end zone, being able to quickly punch it in. But there have been moments where East Chapel Hill has been able to slice and dice right through that zone defense. But the key for WNO really is going to be to clamp down on their zone defense, play a little more aggressively in the cup, and make it difficult for East Chapel Hill to move the disc from sideline to sideline.
And as you say that, we see a little bit of sideline to sideline movement there from W&L. Oh, and a quick lefty backhand into the end zone. Emphatic spike. They are fired up, and that's a great job by W&L getting on track here in this second half. Almost the opposite of what we saw in the first half coming out when East broke twice starting out. So that is a great start for W&L. And what about for East, Musa, here as we see them come out on their first O point of the second half?
Yeah, East Chapel Hill did a great job at working up on points where they're able to slice and dice right through the WNL zone defense. They did so in seconds and probably 10 throws or less to get from their end zone to the other end zone. And so I think they did a great job at that. If they can continue that, but engage their cutters a little more downfield, they're going to have a lot of success here in the second half.
I agree with you 100%, especially with some of the all-star coaching that they've been getting out on the field. We saw the East coaches doing a great job being animated, displaying their points not only with their words, but with their actions. And so let's see if that kind of emphatic coaching rubs off on the players here at the beginning of the second half. Right now, it looks to be 7-5 W&L, so we will get the scoreboard updated there. And one of the things, like you mentioned, coming out on defense here with master strategist Coach Clem rallying his troops there on the D-line is he's been throwing a lot of different zone looks. It hasn't just been one, and so that has been a bit confusing for the East O-line because usually as a coach you want to give advice for one specific scenario or perhaps two, but we've seen at least 3 different kinds of zone looks out of the W&L team today, and they're in their Venom jerseys. That's not only going to be confusing, but also a bit scary if you look at the front of those jerseys. Even the back got a big spider there. Did you see the Spider-Man movie, the new Spider-Man movie?
I have. I really did enjoy it. Tom Holland as Spider-Man, I just think is the best Spider-Man to date.
Wow.
I know that may be a hot take for many people.
Hot takes coming out of the booth here as we see W&L put up the pole. That's a towering pole. Will it stay in bounds?
And just trailing out of bounds on the end of its flight there.
We've got another camera online here showing us a great shot from the sideline as we see what the East players are seeing as they look down the field and try to get into the end zone.
And East Chapel Hill coming out in a vertical stack to begin this point. And a little bit of negative backfield movement. East Chapel Hill struggling to get it to their cutters downfield. WNL forcing what looks to be forehand on this point. And a nice inside break from East Chapel Hill.
East doing a great job of working this skinny inside lane. See if they can get a swing across the field now and work the other side. There it is. And a huck goes up. It's a little bit short, but East tracks it down, and the W&L defender would have loved to have that one back.
Great job by that East Chapel Hill cutter attacking the disc. That's really important when it's up in the air there. You can't let it float down and come to you. You really have to attack the disc there.
And that's true across the board, Musa. Even if it's a floater out in front of you, it's important to go get it wherever it is. Nice catch on the sideline there.
East Chapel Hill again running most of their offense here near the end zone through 3 of their players. Some contact on the fourth sideline, but no foul call.
Looking to swing, gets it, and that is in the end zone. Just goes to show how playing fundamental offense and swinging it all the way down the field, even a swing can result in a goal, as we see East fired up about those fundamentals. And now it is 7-6, I should say. W&L leading by 1.
And East Chapel Hill handlers doing a really good job at moving their defender and mark with their pump fakes. You saw a lot of W&L defenders jumping to cover that position to avoid being broken, but a lot of the times East Chapel Hill just doing that to get their defense out of position before striking up line.
Definitely, Musa, and this is a dangerous lead for W&L here. When you're up by 1 in a game like this and you're so far from the end, it's important to remain vigilant, because 1 break or even 2 and the game can change palpably. So it'll be important for Coach Clem and his troops to make sure to keep their foot on the gas pedal and not become complacent here with their lead.
Yeah, and again, we're working on updating our scoreboard, but W&L up 7 to East Chapel Hill's 6.
All right, as we see here, we have some coaching going on with the East players. Do you think we'll see anything out of their defense beside person-to-person? We've seen a lot of person matchups, and it's had varying levels of success. I just wonder if they're going to mix it up a bit here as we get midway through the game.
Yeah, East Chapel Hill predominantly running person-to-person, but they've been doing a good job at particularly challenging some of the W&L cutters downfield, making every throw a contested catch, just like the one we've seen right there.
That time, the player did a much better job of getting on the inside and trying a layout D from there, because as we saw in the first half, he tried the same thing on the outside. There was a little bit of contact, perhaps slightly dangerous play. He did a great job adjusting there, and I'm really happy to see that out of the East defender. A big swat.
And it looks like there's some call on the field, potentially an injury call. Players are taking a moment to discuss and figure out an outcome for this call.
It's always interesting and ultimate for the commentators or spectators to conjecture on what's going on, because when you're not down on the field, you can't know. It looks like it was just someone got a little shaken up, so they were taking a break, but and perhaps a down throw there.
And some question about whether it looks like East Chapel Hill agreeing that that disc was down before they were able to catch it.
All right, so after a couple discussions, it's going to be W&L's disc on the sideline. Maybe they can get a swing out of this. Nope, looks like they're going up line, looking to swing. Nice inside shot there. Unfortunate drop in the wind, but that happens when you're looking to handle discs that are coming quick in the reset space like that. So East is going to have a short field here as they look to the end zone. Try to get this break, Musa. This would be a big break for momentum.
This would even up the game. We've certainly seen no team pull away from one another the entirety of this game. No team being up by more than 2 points. This would give East Chapel Hill an opportunity to tie the game at 7-7.
And that would be huge for momentum, as we were talking about before, Musa. Oh, but another miscommunication, a little bit of a drop in the reset space, and those happen, Musa, but they are quite devastating for an offense, especially downfield, as a big shot goes up. Who's going to track it down? And it is the W&L player reading it beautifully into the end zone, and they are fired up. That is huge for the W&L O-line, maintaining their lead and extending it a bit.
And you can hear the excitement here from the broadcast box of W&L players on scoring that point there.
Definitely. You can tell, you could actually feel a palpable release of tension as the W&L sideline was worried that it might be a tie game, but no, they are back up 2. And pretty much either team scoring that point would have been a big swing at this juncture in the game. And as always, we can see a little bit of tomfoolery out of the players out on the field. That's what makes Ultimate great, and I know back in our day we had our share of tomfoolery, didn't we, Musa?
We certainly did. An enormous huck from that WNL handler. I think a 50-yard flick huck there that did float a little bit, but the WNL cutter did a great job at reading and attacking the disc, a little bit like we discussed earlier.
Definitely, and discs that are that far up in the air going downwind are sometimes deceptive because you would expect them to continue to fly, continue to float, but with the downwind throws, they drop precipitously very quickly, and so the WNL player did a great job of recognizing that, putting himself in a position on the field that was advantageous for him, and came down with a game-changing huck, or so WNL hopes.
And WNL calling out a line here, hoping to get in another break and make this 9-6.
And as they're coming out on defense here, at this juncture in the game, you know that WNL wants to extend their lead rather than just sit on a 2-goal lead. What do you think Coach Clem is brewing up for his D-line to try to get that lead extended, Musa?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of defense Coach Clem is plotting down there from the line. We've seen a lot of different defenses so far, whether it be a three-person cup in zone defense, a 4-person cup in zone defense, person-to-person, and so at this stage in the game, I'm very curious to see what kind of defense he'll put out to really prevent the movement of East Chapel Hill.
Yeah, and it's always interesting in more windy conditions or colder conditions, always interesting to see the coaching battle that goes on in addition to the battle that goes on between the players. And Clem's been doing it for many years. I know that the East coaching staff has been doing it for many years, and lots of spreadsheets flying around. So we see a big pole go up, and that looks to be well out of bounds out onto the track. And as the East player goes to collect the disc, can we talk about a little bit of your track days here at WNL, Musa? You were a student here back in your heyday and ran track and played soccer. Is that correct?
That is correct. A 2014 graduate of WNL. I've probably run around this track over 1,000 times, if I'm to say so myself, Johnny.
As we see a beautiful shot of the school itself, serving Arlington students for many, many years, including one of the best people I know, Musa Jha, up here in the booth with me. As East takes it at center field, runs a flood play.
WNL quickly clamping down on defense, not giving East Chapel Hill any opportunity to throw to their downfield cutters. Great defense on that set play.
Oh, and WNL defender almost got a hand on it there, but not to be. They move it downfield easily. Oh, and that was a little bit of a tough disc to catch, kind of tailing off at the end of its motion there. Not a lot of spin on it with the wind. Blustering, as we can see.
Just falling short of its intended target. Looks like they were able to get a slight hand on it, but not maintain possession.
Huge huck going up there from the WNL player, but that is swatted down easily by the tall East defender there in the back of the stack. That's why you love having that lank out there on defense, especially in a high school matchup.
And great heads-up awareness from that East defender being able to swat it down. A lot of the times those can fly over to defenders unbeknownst to them.
And we can see the wind really disturbing the players' jerseys even here, Musa, as it picks up. I wonder if that was a little bit of a strategy on the part of Coach Clem there, because it didn't look like there was a really intended target for the huck downfield. I wonder if it's a little bit more of a huck and D kind of strategy, but sometimes that can also be player-led. It's not always necessarily the coach making those decisions. So, oh, and a big D out of WNL. I wonder if they'll pick it up and do the same thing. They will. And this is the person who tracked down that last disc. He's trying to do it again, but the magic will not be a repeat. Looks like we'll have a little bit of a conversation about what happened on that catch, but it looked fairly uncatchable to me, Musa.
Yeah, it certainly looked out of reach of the WNL cutter, and it looks like that discussion is over, and it is East's disc.
East moving it down the 4 sideline, looking to swing. Passing it down the field, a little bit of a wobbly pass, but that is tracked down nicely.
And you can see, with the way that disc just tailed away from its intended target, players have to add a lot of rotation on this disc.
And into the end zone for East. A Blady throw caught by the defender who originally got that D in the point. And he is going to be rewarded with a big score for East. And so East now within 1, Musa. What are we thinking about what they can do to even up this game? It's been an elusive point that they're looking for here on their D points, but seems like they have the momentum going into this next bout between the two teams.
Yeah, East is going to have to spend a lot of time playing hard defense downfield, right? WNL has come out with a lot of these 50-50 balls that, you know, seem like they won't be caught or are pretty contested, giving WNL an opportunity to punch in those pretty quickly. So if East can really clamp down downfield, I think they're going to be in a good position to come back in this game.
Yeah, and we saw them do a better job of that on the last point, coming down with the 50-50 balls or perhaps even 60-40 balls that WNL's throwing up. Let's see if they can do it on this point, though, because it's a lot easier said than done when WNL is going downfield, or downwind, I should say. They've proved to be very potent as an offense in that space. So in large part due to some of the individual talent on their team, in addition to the man holding the clipboard there, Coach Clem, doing a great job coaching up his team. And we got a nice shot of the East coaching staff there too.
And again, you can see how strong of a wind there is this morning. We'll be having winds all throughout the day here, definitely making it difficult for those to catch this, but also receive them.
And in a way, Musa, this is great practice for these young players throwing in the wind, because as you grow older and move up the ranks of the sport, the wind stays the same. So if you can master the wind, you are a much better asset. And so it's important for all of these players to get some experience playing in the wind. And there's going to be no shortage of that this weekend as we see WNL take down the pole and get into a side stack play.
And WNL beginning with a set play, it is caught by their intended receiver downfield. A contested catch. We'll see how WNL can move the disc.
Quick up line for WNL there. No one really connecting in the downfield space, but a nice swing. Another swing to the sideline. Oh.
And it looks like there is going to be a moment of discussion from the thrower.
An interesting play there on the sideline. It looked like there was a bit of a layout D. That's going to be a contested foul call on, and then the player kicked it to try to keep it live. That would have been an insane play if that had worked out, but the East defender was even more willing to get back up and lay out again. So you love seeing the passion out of these players to try to get these points resolved in their favor. And we're going to continue on here. Guessing it's going to be a contested foul call considering the body language of the players, but it's hard to tell. Looks like there's some discussion on the sideline between coaches as well, so it's important to get these calls right. And some folks are not super keen on talk from the sideline, but I always appreciated both when I was playing in high school and college and beyond. I always appreciated both coaches' perspective, because most coaches in the game are just trying to be honest and get it right.
Certainly, certainly. And almost a remarkable save there, Johnny. Like you said, for some of our streamers and people unfamiliar with the sport, that is a legal maneuver to be able to kick up the disc and catch it as long as it does not touch the ground. Johnny, have you ever pulled that off in your ultimate career?
Never in my day. I feel like I wouldn't have the wherewithal to do that. I would probably just mope on the ground, cry a few tears, and get back on D. But these players are more determined than me, and that is a bright star in the future for the DMV and North Carolina ultimate scenes. That's the goal, is always produce better players and players who can be great ambassadors for the sport moving forward. So it is really a pleasure to be here watching these future stars of the game face off.
And it looks like there's another call on the field. This time WNL's Mark calling stall. Looks like it's going to go back to East as a contested stall. At that point, it's going to come in on stall 8. We'll see if East can get it off in those 2 seconds.
Getting a little bit gritty here at the end of the game as we see a big huck go up. Oh, and almost tracked down by the East player. That was a great bid, but unfortunately it is not to be. And we hear a horn go off. I wonder if that's soft cap or something. The new rules of USAU, of course, demonstrating that there can be no hard cap, so you have to score to win. And I really like that rule, Musa, because before you could just have a lead of more than one and then call timeouts or stall to try to win the game, but now it's important that the winning team scores to end up, and I think that that's a lot more fair of an outcome. So if you're WNL here, you'd love to punch this one in, give yourself a little bit of a cushion, and hopefully come away with this big dub in the first round of the YULA Invite competition here.
And WNL with a great upline cut and a huck.
A huge huck from Nanda there.
That is placed perfectly in the hands of a streaking WNL cutter, and that is in the end zone. WNL punching in a huge point to pull away from East.
Big emphatic spike there, Musa. And for everyone at home, YULA is an acronym for Youth Ultimate League of Arlington. They're the ones, the volunteers, who've come away. Oh, and a great replay we're seeing here of this spike, tossing it way up above the school. From this perspective, it looks like, and that is going to be game for us here. WNL scoring the last point after the horn went off. They're going to shake hands, do some high fives, a great tradition post-game in Ultimate. And Musa, if you're WNL there, you're really excited to be coming away with that win. I mean, at the beginning of the game, it looked like they were a little bit frazzled, but they came back on a, they came back on a 9-7 run. If we're talking the scope of the entire game, and we're able to come away with the win, so they're going to be thrilled with that. But for East, it's heartening to see that they could rally and get close in that game, and I know they're going to be trying to take that momentum into the rest of the tournament. So wrapping up here from the YULA Invite, I'm Johnny Malks, next to my partner in the booth, Musa Jha. And we will be back live with you for second round action starting at 12:25, so be sure to tune in to the stream then. And we will see you soon.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon, 12:25, right back here.